guys, welcome back. Conor Brewster here, Captain for another Spline tutorial. I know what you're thinking. This is not Spline. This is, if you're not familiar, an app called Blender, which is a free open source 3D app. It's more in the professional range, but it's also much more complicated and more difficult to learn. It has a lot more capability than Spline does, but it's a lot more difficult to get to a finished product, and it takes a lot longer to learn and is a little less fun. I love Spline because I can finish an awesome animation just by messing around for an hour or so and come up with some great art. Blender takes a lot longer, but like I said, is more professional and has a lot more capabilities. So it's great to learn, but those are the reasons I prefer Spline. But what I'm going to teach you today is how to make something in Blender that you can export and use that object in your Spline art, because the modeling capabilities in Blender are a lot more diverse, and you can do a lot more with it. So let's get started. This is going to be what your opening file looks like. You're going to start off with a cube. So what we're going to do is right click and delete that and go to add mesh, and you can pick whatever you want, but what I'm going to use today is a UV sphere, and basically that's just a sphere that has a bunch of polygons in it, and we're going to go to edit mode, which makes all these different kinds of modeling capabilities show up that you can use to change around and mess around with the shape. So we're going to make a little spiky ball here just for fun today. So to get started, we'll start selecting these little vertices points, and you can hold shift down while you click them, and it'll allow you to select multiple vertices at one time. To rotate, let go of the shift button and click down on your mouse wheel, and it'll allow you to move around in the viewport. So I'm selecting every other point on this little circle here, and then what I'm going to do is go to move. I'm going to move these little spikes up. Then I'm going to go over here to scale and click on this white circle, which will scale the little spikes out. Yeah, and that's how that's how you use the move and scale parts of the modeling anyway. So I'm going to do this again with a couple of rows, and we're going to create a little spiky ball that we will export and be able to use the FBX or OBJ, or I think even the STL 3D file types once we save this, and we'll be able to open them up in Spline and use whatever kind of model you make in here in your Spline work. So continuing to add little spikes, having some fun. We'll do every other line here, and also as you can see, doing the opposite points, so the spikes are coming out from different zones, and just having fun with it. You can use all of these different modeling options on the left side here, and there's plenty of tutorials to learn Blender, obviously, on YouTube. But for today, we're just going to keep it simple, because honestly, not the best at this app. Like I said, it's a little bit more difficult to learn, so that's why I'm such a Spline fan. But again, we'll do the scale, which will scale the spikes out, and then we'll do this little move, and maybe we'll have these ones pointing down for this part, just for fun. And then for the next one, how about we'll click and then click Alt and select another one in the loop, and that'll select the entire loop. And for this one, what we can do is, instead of making it a spike, we'll make it like a little disc kind of coming out instead, and we'll have this one kind of morphing down, and then we'll do one last row of spikes here, again selecting every other vertices. This would be a fun little cannonball for maybe a Mad Max tank or something like that. I wouldn't want to get hit in the face with this, that's for sure. So again, we'll do the move and scale. Oh, that's a weird little rotate thing. I clicked on the wrong one. Transform, so there's scale. Like I said, there's a lot of fun little things you can do to mess around. For the last part, we'll click this little point, go to move, and do a little bottom spike sticking out. Do the same thing on the top here, little top spike sticking out. Okay, it's looking pretty cool. Just a fun little shape. What you can do also now is go to this little wrench over here and go to add modifier, and you can add a subdivision modifier, which will smooth out this little shape. So if we go back to object mode, you can see how that kind of smooths it out. You can add the matcaps just like you do in Spline. If you don't have any good matcaps, I have a whole matcap library for sale on GUMROAD, which I'll leave the link for on the bottom, but the link is also in my matcap tutorials, which is a 5-part series that I made for Spline, so definitely check that out if you haven't. So this is looking pretty cool. This is what it looks like with the rounded subdivision modifier, so you can save both, but basically now you have a finished shape. Mess around and do a bunch of different trials. You don't have to make the exact thing that I made here, but once you're satisfied with your shape, you go down to File, Export, and you export a wavefront OBJ file. And we'll just save it as spiky ball. Save it to the desktop, export wavefront OBJ. You can also export an FBX file, which is also good in Spline. I don't know if spiky has an E or not, maybe not. Yeah, and so that's how you make a model in Blender that you can then open and import into your Spline files and have some funky shapes going on there that might be a little bit more difficult to modify or model in Spline. And that's the tutorial for today. So thanks for checking in. Conor Brewster signing out, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.